On today's episode, if your swampy hometown is a battlefield for neo-fascist oil tycoons, mystical eco-terrorists, and a giant salad monster from the pits of hell, you just might be a redneck. Stay tuned for more.
The guy sure looks like plant food to me. The guy sure looks like plant food to me. The guy sure looks like plant food to me.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm the Omniviewer, and welcome to Atomic Roasts, where we take bad movies and blow them to smithereens. Back before Marvel Comics founded its own movie studio and created a shared cinematic universe that everybody loves, they were throwing every character they had at every studio they could, and somehow Lionsgate wound up with Man-Thing. What is Man-Thing, you ask? Well, Man-Thing is to Marvel what Swamp Thing is to DC. And I mean that in the most literal way imaginable. I mean it. Man-Thing and Swamp Thing basically are the same character. The only differences between the two are facial features and the fact that Man-Thing can't talk. Technically, Man-Thing did come first. But if you're wondering why Marvel never took legal action, well, it's because both characters are based on a pre-existing entity known as the Heap. So technically, neither company outright owns the idea of a Floridian veggie monster. Besides, it's not like Man-Thing has ever been legitimate competition for Swamp Thing. Swampy is one of DC's more inexplicably popular characters. In addition to the comics, he got 2 live-action theatrical films, a live-action TV series, an animated TV series with a line of action figures, and is set to appear in Justice League Dark, a movie that is one of several thousand ideas currently in development by Guillermo del Toro. Man-Thing, on the other hand, is mostly known for all the unintended laughter that spawned when he got his own giant-sized book. Go ahead and laugh, it's funny. He's also known for the horrible movie we're going to be seeing today, a direct-to-video feature. Even better, it's a Sci-Fi Channel original movie, and we all know what bastions of quality those are. Actually, according to IMDb, it was supposed to get a theatrical release, until people started walking out during the test screenings, leading to the more traditional television release. That does not bode well. These days, Marvel is ashamed to show its Man-Thing to people, so today we're going to point and laugh at it. Roll that beautiful bean footage! The film opens with a surprisingly effective scene showing the formation of our eponymous monster. I'm serious, this is a good scene. Good atmosphere, good lighting, good special effects. It's effective. We gotta do something to ruin that. Ah yes, horny young people partying outside. Just the horror movie cliche I was looking for. We specifically follow these two who are going off to have some private time. You know, I can't help thinking that this location couldn't be less romantic if it were a graveyard. Then again, for all I know, swamp gas is considered an aphrodisiac in Florida. Whoa! Whoa, movie! Slow down! Slow down! Are you really playing the gratuitous nudity card already? We're not even at the 5-minute mark. You've got to give us time to lose interest before you resort to that sort of thing to pull it back. You played your cards too early. Ah, but these are attractive young people having naughty fun time in a horror movie. That can only mean one thing. One Man-Thing.
I'm the only Man-Thing that'll be doing any penetrating in this picture.
Now, lest you fear that this review is going to be nothing but me making puerile jokes, don't worry, that is my last one for the review. Not just because I can't come up with any more, but because I try not to rely on those, and mostly because this is the last we'll be seeing of Man-Thing for a very long time. I wish I was kidding. The next day, we meet our hero, Con Williams, who's coming in by boat to the town where this horrible travesty will take place.
Why do they call it Bywater?
Because it's by the water.
Ask a stupid question and you get a stupid answer. I'm just wondering, what answer were you expecting? Also, if he's wondering about the origins of the name, does that make him bi-curious? Whatever he is, Williams is Bywater's new sheriff. Deputy Fraser here fills him in on how the last sheriff went nuts investigating disappearances only to disappear himself. And no sooner have they stated that fact than they are instantly called to the morgue because they have found the body of the guy who got skewered in the opening. What's especially strange is that he's got plants growing out of his body.
Is this normal? This green stuff?
Sheriff, this body has been in the swamp, you understand?
Yeah, for one night.
That was a fascinating conversation when it was in the fog.
Nick, his wounds are covered with algae. His lungs are full and there's silt under his fingernails. I'll tell you, I saw Dick Baxter 3 days ago in Salinas. Now he's lying in there on the table looking like he's been underwater for a month.
Yet we barely have time to process any of that before they are called away again to the schist oil rig, where a bunch of jobless protesters have chained themselves to a bulldozer and hold on, wait a minute, whoa, stop the movie, back up. What was that? What is that? Is that really the company logo? Well, gee, does it remind you of anything? I have seen a lot, and I mean a lot, of really bad environmentalist propaganda movies in my life. None of them were especially good at subtlety, but good lord, even Captain Planet didn't compare its villains to the freaking Nazis. It just makes me curious, though. How did the company come to decide on that logo anyway? Good news, Pa. I found some artists to design the new company logo. All right, who'd you get for us? Well, there's a graphic designer I met through the local Klan chapter, a former member of the Charles Manson family, and a really nice older German feller from South America who says he fought in World War II. Well, shoot, I don't see anything wrong with any of them choices. See if they can make us one of them magazine ads, too. So Williams attempts to lay down the law.
All right, everyone. I appreciate your right to free assembly, but this is a privately owned work site. Your actions here are illegal.
Okay, he handled that pretty well. Now, if the protesters can just find a way to peaceably and non-violently...
Hey, what are you doing?
Well, so much for that. Lock her up. Williams arrests the blonde and the protest breaks up when Schist arrives and confirms that he is indeed the scum of the earth, because of course he is.
Bottom line is, I'm not breaking any laws. Not any American laws anyways, and I paid a bundle for this land.
Schist indicates local First Nation resident Rene LaRocque as the killer. And then we get some weird montage of the swamp because, I don't know, the editor was bored. Williams interrogates the blonde, named Terry Richards, a local schoolteacher. She reveals that Schist's purchase of the native land might not have been entirely on the level, but when she refuses to say anything else, Williams just lets her go. The next morning, he goes out to get breakfast, but just gets the cold shoulder instead.
Well, for the new sheriff, first cup is free. Second one is twice the price.
Oh, Pete, this is the nice man that arrested me yesterday.
You assaulted an officer of the law. You got no one to blame but yourself for that. It's here that we also meet a pair of probably inbred rednecks, Wayne and Rodney Thibodeau, who will clearly be trouble later, but don't do anything now because YIKES!
No man can stand against it alone.
Okay, that happened. Enough of all this. Let's check in and see how the girl from the beginning is doing.
Call me if anything changes.
Ooh, there was a change. A really awkward edit right before the jump scare. Once again, we barely have time to register that before Williams goes back to the schist oil rig. For crying out loud, this movie needs to learn how to sit still for 5 seconds. It seems that someone has sabotaged the machinery, and it's all covered in plants. Will you quit playing up the mystery? We already know there's a monster out there. Wow, this movie is so eco-conscious it films entire scenes in green. Yeah, get used to that. Every single shot in the swamp is filmed through a green filter. It's not even a natural green, it's like magic marker, it just looks unnatural. Well, anyway, how are the villains doing? Oh, I see. They're Nazis and Confederates, and the company name sounds like a word for excrement. You know, movie, I get the sense you might want me to hate these guys, but I'm not entirely sure yet. You're playing things with far too much subtlety. Could you also make them cannibalistic human traffickers who sacrifice goats to Satan? Then I might understand what you're saying. It's here that something completely unseen kills a pair of night guards. And I do mean unseen. We never see Man-Thing even once. This is getting very annoying. Well, at least he turned the lights back on after he was done wreaking havoc. That was very nice of him. Williams discovers a mutilated body when it just falls out of the sky onto his truck, and he brings it to the coroner for examination. He declares it to be death by alligator. And yet again, as soon as we learn this, we are instantly called back to schist oil. It's like every new plot revelation requires that an immediate change of scene be implemented. Williams and the coroner discover the dead bodies of the guards, now overgrown with plants coming from inside of them.
Do you have to smoke?
Definitely.
So you're against big oil, but for big tobacco? The coroner explains that several other bodies have been found like this, but he was deliberately told to write them off as gator attacks. For some inexplicable reason, Williams is still convinced that a normal human being is behind all this, specifically Rene LaRocque, so he's gonna go into the swamp to find him. Terry shows up and protests, claiming that LaRocque is innocent and Williams should not do his job of investigating suspects.
Terry, please just let me do my job.
What, you're gonna hunt him down like some kind of animal?
Look, if he's innocent, then he'll walk.
Is it the character who doesn't understand how the law works, or the writers? Probably the writers. However, it seems that Schist has hired the redneck brother cousins to go after LaRocque as well, so it's time for a confrontation. Why the heck was that in there? I know this movie is chock full of horror movie cliches, but that didn't have anything to do with anything. Williams lays down the law again, but we all know how seriously people take him in this town, so it doesn't work. And now, just for a change of pace, let's have a look in on a mystical Native American ritual. Wait a minute, is that a crucifix? Why does he have a crucifix? I thought this was all about Native American spiritualism and comic book mythology. How does Man-Thing fit into God's plan for us? From this point on, you'll be seeing a lot of green as everybody enters the swamp. While Williams and Fraser have to deal with the dead motor, one of the Thibodeau brothers has to deal with irritable bowel syndrome. Ah, just what I wanted to see. Some ugly redneck taking a dump in a bog. No wonder people were walking out of the test screening. Oh, dude, you didn't wipe! You specifically brought toilet paper with you, and you didn't use it. Could you be more disgusting? Well, the good news is the movie officially can't sink any lower. I'm going to skip over most of this because there's not a whole lot that happens beyond people wandering aimlessly through a swamp. Instead, I'll jump ahead to when LaRocque catches Williams in a trap, leaving him helpless as some unseen force kills the rednecks and Fraser. Emphasis on unseen. It's an hour into this hour-and-a-half movie, and we have yet to see Man-Thing in any sort of detail. Williams is rescued by a neckbeard photographer who has been following the paranormal strangeness for months. He even has pictures of the murderous monster, and as you might expect, they are blurry black and white Polaroids.
That's a man.
Oh yeah, that's a man, all right, huh? It's the Man-Thing, man.
That is the worst name drop I have ever seen in a movie. The writers should be ashamed of themselves. Williams asks Terry to bring him to visit that mystical First Nation guy from the restaurant, thinking he can get some... what the... What the heck was that about? Wait a minute, why are those cars on fire? Why does that guy still have a crucifix next to his dream catcher? What is going on with any of this? You're not going to give me anything but cryptic double talk, are you?
Our most powerful guardian spirit lives in the dark water. It protects what our ancestors called the Nexus of all realities. What you believe doesn't matter. You're not from this place. You're not from any place.
Yep, that's what I figured. Oh, by the way, that Nexus of all realities thing, that's from the comics. For some reason, all the different realities in the Marvel multiverse converge in the Everglades, and it's Man-Thing's job to, guard it. It has nothing to do with the movie, I just thought you'd like to know. Wait a minute, when did you two become an item? You hated each other for most of the movie. You were just talking about murder and conspiracies and mysticism before you started making out amongst the burning cars, and seriously, why are those cars on fire? Schist appears again to remind us of what a scumbag he is. Then he conspires with his idiot son to go into the swamp and find LaRoque, which is exactly what Williams is going to do. Oh joy, more green filter. As everyone wades through the nastiness, our cryptic mystic confronts Man-Thing. So we finally get to see our title character. I'm not expecting much by this point, so go ahead, show us what you got. Wow, that was actually really good. I'm dead serious here. That was a great scene. Man-Thing looks amazing. The design is basically the same as the comic with a few enhancements to make him look scarier. The special effects are amazing, especially for 2005. So why am I still upset? Because Man-Thing is only now appearing, an hour and 13 minutes in. Need I remind you, this movie is an hour and a half long, a good chunk of which is ending credits. There's hardly any movie left for Man-Thing to do anything. Oh, but enough about the cool monster. Let's go and see what the humans are doing. The coroner tells Terry that the last sheriff was murdered, specifically shot by Schist. So she goes into the swamp to find Williams, who has just had a run-in with the neckbeard.
I got the cover of Life magazine, man! Life magazine went out of business.
And yet somehow Soap Digest is still on the stands. So everyone wanders around through the swamp, Neckbeard is shot, Schist Jr. gets killed by LaRoque, and everyone finally comes together at the oil rig where this awful movie started. Schist is the only one with a weapon, which means he has the upper hand. Of course, he's not gonna win because he's the bad guy, but how are the good guys supposed to defeat him?
And I suppose you're gonna kill me.
No. He is.
Oh yeah, Man-Thing is in this movie. I honestly forgot. Well, at least he gets to kill the bad guy by pumping him full of oil. Irony, I guess. That stuff shouldn't be black if it's just come out of the ground. Oh, whatever. After the rig is blown up, Man-Thing decides he's bored with this crap and turns back into sludge. And these two kiss even though they don't have any chemistry whatsoever. Well, I think it's pretty safe to say that Man-Thing is the worst movie Marvel has ever attached its name to. Okay, it's the second worst movie Marvel has ever attached. It's the third worst. Forget about quantifying, it's bad, alright? First and foremost, Man-Thing himself is hardly even in the movie that bears his name. You think Godzilla 2014 didn't have enough Godzilla? It had 8 minutes worth of Godzilla. Man-Thing barely even has 1 minute of Man-Thing. And it's really a shame because those parts with him in it were the best moments of the whole movie. All it would take is one more draft and you could completely remove Man-Thing from the film. This could instead be a plot about entirely human protagonists and antagonists fighting over valuable land and using the supernatural as a smokescreen. Otherwise called Scooby-Doo. Beyond that, nothing else about this movie works. The acting is bland, the symbolism is blatant to the point of being laughable, the plot is all over the map, and the structuring is awful. None of it works, just none of it. Even by Sci-Fi Channel movie standards, this is a mess that isn't even worth recycling. The movie rights to Man-Thing are back at Marvel these days. He even got mentioned by name in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.'s first season. Will he show up in the Marvel Cinematic Universe? Well, given how successful Marvel has been with obscure characters as of late, it's certainly possible. I would expect him to appear briefly during Infinity War, Doctor Strange, do a cameo in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., or maybe even appear in a Netflix series. As for getting another solo movie, I highly doubt that's going to happen again. This was unfortunately his one shot. Man-Thing might be the equivalent of Swamp Thing in the comics, but he's the equivalent of Jonah Hex in the movies. Talk about a black mark on your record. Oh well. Until such time as we meet again, this is the Omniviewer, signing off.